Well, hi, everybody. I'm going to wait for some people to join. Tonight is exam prep strategy for technicians and behavior analysts and BCABA. So if you have questions, ask, because tonight is going to be more Q&A. But I'm kind of opening up the floor to you guys tonight. If you have specific questions about resources to use, we will be talking about strategy. So what are ways that you can go through and actually practice studying? So I'll be on for about an hour and a half and help you guys pass these exams because I know it's a pain. I get it. And a lot of it is, I think, for RBTs and BCBAs, learning how to read the questions. Because when I am tutoring people and we'll go through and I'm asking them like, okay, so what are the keywords? What are they asking you? And sometimes people struggle with that because they're focusing on the information that doesn't matter. And unfortunately, the questions are meant to confuse you. They really want you to analyze the question itself and find the most important. Those are some of the things I'm looking through tonight. And I do find with repeat test takers, whether it's RBTs, BCBAs, or BCABAs, a lot of it comes down to understanding what the question is asking more specifically. Because there's always process of elimination. We know that strategy from school, but when you get down to those last two questions that sound like they both could be right, that's what makes it difficult for people. All right, so I'm going to switch screens and show you guys some of the resources that I do have. So let me take this screen. All right, this is one of the things that I do have in my stand store that goes through looking at keywords. Is keywords. And when you're reading, kind of getting yourself in the habit of identifying the most important information that's in the question. Because I see people sometimes struggling with that a lot. And it honestly makes me think back to when I was in school and we would have to do, I guess, like reading comprehension. And one of the things that honestly I remember struggling with is finding the main idea. Like, I distinctly remember that. But when you're reading these questions, some of the same rules apply. Finding the main idea of the question, finding those keywords that jump out. I'll give you guys a little bit of a preview here. So these are some of the keywords that I kind of put together for the RBT task list. And then I'll scroll down and show you a little bit of the BCBA and BCABA task list too. And my ring light is dying. Okay, I don't know. This one instead. Try this. So you'll see that for the RBT task list, like what I did was I split down some keywords that you might want to pay attention to. And some of this is just to get you in the practice of there's certain information that's sticking out. Why? Why are they mentioning this? And when you're reading through the question, being able to kind of save that little nugget of information later. And what's hard for me as a neurodivergent person is I like to handwrite everything. I love highlighters. So when I was taking the exam, that was actually really tough for me to have to only look at the computer. I actually really hate that. Now for BCBAs and BCABAs, they give you a little whiteboard. For RBTs, I don't know if that is an option or not. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if that is. But at least for the BCBAs, it is. And someone was asking me, well, what should I put on my whiteboard? I'm like, write down those keywords. If there's something that you feel is important information, write it down. Now, the RBT exam, and I don't know if anyone here knows that or not. Like, do they give you a whiteboard for the RBT exam too or not? I don't know. But you can see these are some different keywords that match A for RBTs. So yes, knowing the definition, yes, knowing what the concept is important, but you want to also kind of understand how else might they say this. Because they're not going to say inner response time. They might say time between two responses. They're not going to say momentary. They might not even use the word moment because that kind of gives it away. But the second that the timer stopped or something like that. So really being able to pick out those keywords helps a lot. And then I put in each section a little bit of why this matters and practice to kind of help you guys out. But I'll scroll down a little bit. Documentation and reporting, like this is for RBT. So I put on here at the very top what is for RBTs and what is for BCBAs. So when you have the whole document, you're not confused which one is for which question. All right, let me move myself out of the way a little bit better. Okay. As good as I can get it. So for documentation and reporting for RBTs, different types of keywords and phrases to pay attention to. Now, I'm considering making a whole other resource that's just for ethics because I think for RBTs and BCBAs, ethics can be tricky. I always found the ethics questions to be a bit difficult because sometimes I felt like they were up for interpretation. I wish that they had a little space where I could write in the ethics section why I wanted to choose that answer or like explain my reasoning, but they don't give you that. So that's what makes it difficult in my opinion. But I put in some keywords and these are really like scenario phrases that match with the task list. So when are we talking about confidentiality? And especially for RBTs, understanding when is your scope and when do you go to the BCBA. That's probably the biggest thing for the RBT exam is making sure you really understand that you're staying in your scope, your professional lane, so to speak. And if it's any point where they're asking you to change something, make decisions, that you understand that's a trick and that in most of those scenarios, the answer is you need to go to your BCBA. I was studying. So I give you guys a little bit of a preview of this. So same thing for BCBAs and BCABAs. I matched it up to the task list. As you can see, the BCBA, BCABA section of this is much bigger because it's a lot more information that they have to learn. But when it comes to the 7 dimensions, that's why I wanted to include them here because I do think that there's keywords that are often overlooked. And I also wanted to include for my BCBAs and BCABAs to be EAB and ABA because I think those are also ones that get overlooked a lot. You might understand the definition or the difference between experimental analysis of behavior, ABA, and professional practice guided by, but in a scenario question, it can sound the same. So that's exactly why I wanted to include them here. G is one of the longer ones on the task list, I believe, for BCABAs. But this section, as I wrote here, test whether the BCBA or BCABA can match procedures to behavioral function and context, not just identifying interventions that could work. Exam items often describe, and I'm going to zoom in here so you guys can see, exam items often describe multiple plausible strategies and require selection of the most appropriate, sometimes the least intrusive option based on function, risk, and long-term maintenance. So, the tough part about the BCBA exam is they really want you to analyze. They want you to look at the data that they're giving you, look at the information that they're giving you, and decide a lot of times what is the next step, what is best. So these are meant to kind of help you pay more attention to those sections. Now this, you get this entire thing for $2.99. I probably should up the price, but I like to keep things affordable for you guys. What I just showed you, the keywords, is kind of part 2 of this, but the entire packet is $2.99 because I do want to keep things affordable for you. So let me move myself out of the way here. So the entire resource is $2.99, and it is the complete kind of keyword based guide for RBT, BCABA, and BCBA exam prep. I won't show you guys everything in it, but I do kind of go through what this guide helps you do. So this isn't a mock exam, because my whole point of designing this was I wanted you to be able to use it with a variety of resources. So if you are doing mock exams online, you're also able to apply this same information. You're really training your brain to search for the information that matters. So it could be you get from study notes, ABA, it can be free mocks that you find on YouTube. You're still kind of training your brain to look for those SDs, look for that information. So it is, as I said, designed to be quite behavioral, and that you can help generalize your skill set of being able to identify keywords across multiple types of materials that you might already have or you get. So this guide is really meant to help you understand how the questions are structured. Is training you to help read them, whether you're an RBT or BCBA, BCABA to be. And this is a decision-based way to approach studying, because sometimes I don't think everyone always knows how to study, myself included. That was always a struggle for me. How am I even going to start? And look, I have ADHD, so my executive functioning skills are a little bit poor, to be honest, even still. And just knowing where to start is hard. So that's the whole design these products for people is, okay, where do I start with studying for the RBT and BCBA exam? I'm like, okay, this is part of it. This is kind of step 1. And it's meant to really help you reduce the second guessing and the spiraling. So when you do get down to those last 2 answer choices, you've trained your brain for this. You know, it's shaping your behavior. Just purchased it. Thank you enough. You're welcome. And I mean, I think I do try to keep things affordable. So you get the entire keyword guide and this entire guide. I'm going to go through and show you guys for $2.99. I had it for $4.99, but I'm like, look, times are hard. I want people to have it to be affordable. To read ABA questions. So I go through all these different steps that show you, okay, what is my kind of task analysis for myself? So you'll already see there's some things I put here. Keywords: determine, design, evaluate, often signal that they're outside the RBT role. They sound helpful or proactive. So I put in some probing questions here to help you. And I try to give as much information as I can to help you have a reference of how to use it. And I give you a short little intro of RBT, keywords and concept clusters, and then we'll kind of scroll down to the BCBA and BCABA side. So what I put here are different cues that I want you to be able to pay attention to. So 3rd edition of the task list for RBTs, it does match. But looking for these different cues and concept clusters that are signaling is something outside of your RBT scope. Cues that signal you to talk to the BCBA. And I also put in different exam traps because look, some of these questions, yeah, they're meant to trip you up. They are written to do because they're trying to make sure you actually know your role as an RBT. Let me see if I can. There we go. So you'll see some examples there. And sometimes it's very obvious what is RBT scope and what isn't. Sometimes it's not. That's why I wanted to put different traps in there for you so that you can see. And go into the BCBA and BCABA exam section. So it's right there. That it's different. You'll also be able to see how it differs. And if you're an RBT, no, you don't need to know everything from the BCBA portion of this, but seeing it and maybe just glancing at it might give you a better idea of, ooh, I see that's not in my scope. That's not in my scope. That might actually help to put 2 and 1. So the same thing for the BCBA portion. It goes through how this helps you. And you'll see here the distinction between the RBT side. RBTs, we're talking about scope. Here, these keywords help signal what type of clinical reasoning the question is targeting, assessment, intervention, supervision, ethics, because sometimes it's really pointing to they want you to decide whether there is a particular decision being made or what comes next. So I do kind of go through how to use this while you're studying, different questions that you can ask yourself. So again, you know, these are resources that are meant to help you shape your own behavior. I didn't create this to be a mock because I don't want you to have just another mock exam. I want you to have clear, tangible ideas and strategies that you can apply to lots of different mock exams to see how this works for you. If you only use it with one mock, I don't find that to be helpful. We want to generalize your skill set of being able to identify key information. So that's why I designed it this way. Use it when you're taking free mocks you find on YouTube. Use it for mocks that you've purchased. So then when you go to take the exam, you go to do the real thing, you've been practicing all along this. Not just, okay, I'm going to reread the chapters. Because for most people, that doesn't really do very much. You need some sort of active, tangible task that you can do, I find. I think that's more helpful. Okay, do you have one for BCBA? Yes, this is 2 in 1. So it's RBT, keywords, and the BCBA, BCABA. In one big document. It's on sale right now for $2.99. Super cheap. And then I will show you guys a little bit of the BCBA, BCABA clusters. So I have all these different cues that signal you're going to make a database decision. Because that's the BCBA side. That's the hard part. It's like they're asking about what kind of decision sometimes. Cues that signal intervention modification. Same thing. I talk about what the BCBA might do, what this means in plain English, exam traps. So I kind of try to think of everything I can to help you. And this is based on the 6th edition. Now, of course, there's ethics tips. Like, I thought of it all. Then I have this too. It gives you study tips, recommendations, choosing different study materials as well. So it's a pretty, full guide, I think. I know. Because even when I made this in Canva, I was like, wait, this looks very professional. Like this looks legit. But yeah, I give you guys some ideas of how to keep up your studying consistency. Really all behavior analytic, the way that I designed them. Different study tips, choosing different study materials. And I did put, because I post about these books a lot, so that's why I wanted to put these here for you. These 2 books that I do post about a lot, I did include them in the guide. Y'all, if you follow me, you know that I post about them a lot. I have them here as well, because these are very visual guides. So let's say you're using the keyword guide, and you do find that certain keywords keep popping up, that you keep missing them across different exams, then maybe that's when you need to go back to content, and that's where these books are really, really handy. I've been posting about these books. If y'all go look on my TikTok, I've been posting about these for about 3 or 4 years, to the point where the person who wrote the books, he found me on TikTok and like sent me all these books and like wrote me a note because he's like, "You're sharing my books?" I'm like, "Yes," because I literally love them. But if you haven't seen me talk about these before, what's really great about them is it's extremely visual. These different concepts with little drawings. I love them for the different preference assessments and like, can I show like in some of my lives, because the forward and backward chaining pages are so good. The brown one is really good for technicians, and I would say even if you're a BCBA and you don't, I'll show you guys the other book in a second, but I, as a behavior analyst, I really like using this book too. It's good. It's like an intro. Now this one, you can kind of compare the sizes. This is the brown one. This is the blue one that's much bigger. The blue one, I would say, is much better for behavior analysts and an assistant behavior analyst to be. It's much bigger and it's a glossary. So you don't have to really flip through. It's obviously in alphabetical order. But what I really, really love about the glossary is they have a lot more graphs. So if you're someone who struggles with section D of the task list, and as I put here, don't sleep on YouTube. There are a lot of free resources out there. There are videos that review the entire RBT, BCABA, BCBA task list. There's people who go through entire mock exams. And this entire guide that I wrote can be paired with some of those YouTube mock exams. So if you're doing some free mocks on YouTube, they're reading the question, pause, look at your keyword guide, shape your behavior, shape your strategy towards learning how to read these questions, and watch with intention. Stop the video and decide before they explain as practice. So there are also a lot of free resources on YouTube. So don't feel that you have to purchase a lot of expensive mock exams, because again, I do think that a lot of these things do come down to how are you applying a strategy and a framework to learning how to read these questions. So it doesn't always take buying a lot of stuff. I understand how expensive that BCBA exam is. That's part of why I wanted to make these resources very affordable. They're on sale right now. They're $2.99. But you get this entire thing. Y'all see how long it is. 19 pages, okay? Then on top of that, you'll see in my sand store, then you also get the keyword list for BCBAs and RBTs. Once you understand the keywords, this is going into even more of decision making for the exam for RBTs and BCABAs. I struggle with section H. Is there a way you can help me? Let me look at this point, I have some of them memorized, but I think H is selecting interventions, if I'm not wrong. Let me pull it up. Six. I have them saved in my files because open them. Okay, let's look at H. Yep, selecting interventions. I mean, don't tell the people the whole thing because I do want them to purchase it. But what is it about the strategy that helped you with your score? Hi.
Oh, I want to say I was so happy that I found it like the night before. So I went from a 350 to a 388. But what I did was I literally broke every question down. So like with search, I I have a good photographic memory, so I searched the words, some of the keywords that you put, and on exam, since I had accommodations, I just highlighted the words. And oh my God, is this the right answer? And second guess. But I do say when I learned the SDPEA, I did not go back and change like no answer. Once I broke it down with it, I'm like, okay, I'm sticking with it and I'm going straight. So I'm like going from 350 to 388 overnight from purchasing this. I was just like, that is just so amazing.
That makes me so happy because I struggled with preparing for this exam when I was taking it, and I didn't know I had ADHD back then. I certainly know now, but some of it is
Mm-hmm.
how my own brain works with like I needed something so clear cut to break down information because when I was reading those questions and preparing,
Yeah.
I don't know anything. And I'm like, okay, I need something to help it stick in my mind. And when I'm in the moment and panicking, that's why it's meant to be easy to remember letters because you can write on your whiteboard or just remember when you're in that panic mode.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let me use my task analysis, let me use my plan, and let me use a strategy to figure this out. So even if in the moment I'm like, I don't think I know this, it's I don't think I know, but let me use the information that I have, let me use the evidence to try to figure it out. So the nice thing about being able to apply this framework to other mocks is as you are taking data on questions that you miss and getting those patterns, if you do need to go back and study some content, do that. But what I will end with this is saying that I've worked with many people in tutoring who they know the content, but when they got in the exam, not able to understand what was asking them. They get down to those last two answer choices and something is tripping them up. So yes, content is important, but I maintain that strategy is just as important because I've seen people who we talk through the mock exams together. They're like, yes, I know this. Like there's a disconnect here. You're forgetting everything in the moment. So what kind of plan can we have to where when you are taking your exam, you feel confident that you can use steps to help you figure it out. So this is why I make this stuff for you guys. You can find it in my bio. This is $9.99. And then I'll go back to so we talked about two major resources tonight. Now, I showed you guys the SDPEA framework. So the main difference is that the framework gives you a clear order of, especially when every answer sounds right. And practicing this framework and having this plan can help some people with test taking anxiety. So, and it really goes into detail of how to read the questions in more detail. That's what the framework does. Now, what I have here on the right, the studying hard, retaining nothing, that is a keyword guide. That's a good starting point for a lot of people. That is the option that's $2.99 right here on the right. So that's helping you spot the important phrases in the question. So that's kind of step one because it's giving you structure to studying, training your brain to look for important information. But once you find the correct information or find important information, how do you apply that to the entire question and be able to, when those answers are starting to sound real familiar, how are you deciphering between why one answer fits and why one doesn't? Because just having the keywords that's a great start, but eventually we need to put it all together. So that's why there's two different things here that I really talk about. But if you want something to start with the keyword guide. That's $2.99. It's on sale. I'll probably keep it on sale for like another week or so before the price jumps up to $4.99. But either way, that's a very good deal. It's over 25 pages of information for this. So you get a lot for the price. But for some people, the keyword guide might be enough. But check it out. It is linked in my Stan store. It's in my bio. And if you guys have any other questions about what other kinds of strategies or what things you can do, let me know. But I think a lot of people need that hands-on practice for concepts that aren't making sense. So if you're working in a setting that you can talk to your BCBA and say like, hey, I'm really struggling with B12. How can I practice this in this session to better understand? You know, you have resources, use them the best that you can. It does take a little bit of creativity sometimes, but I'm happy to pass along what information I know. In the meantime, don't sleep on the resources on YouTube. Use some free resources. I don't want you guys spending, some people are spending hundreds of dollars. I don't want y'all to do this. Try to exhaust some of your free resources that you have too. And as I said, this cheaper item in my stand store is $2.99. Start with that. See how it goes. If you have questions, come back next Tuesday at 6. Send me a message and I will do what I can to help. But you guys can do this. Just takes a little bit of figuring out what works for you. But I have full confidence that you guys can pass these exams. Well, I thank everyone for joining tonight and sharing the live and engaging in all the things. And I hope you guys have a great evening. Thank you for all the gifts as well. You guys are so nice, and make all of this time creating these things worth it, because I hear that they're helping you and that makes me so happy. So keep at it, and I will see you guys next time.